Let's bring in Reeve Collins, the co-founder of Smartmedia Technologies, and I also believe that you were one of the co-founders of Tether. So plenty to digest here, and you're well positioned to talk about it all. Let's just start with FTX. Many are saying the house of cards has fallen. This was an exchange that took on the role of being the white knight just a couple of months ago, buying up other exchanges. And in the past 48 hours, it's come to light that essentially the emperor has no clothes. A lot of what the business model that FTX was undertaking was not backed by significant enough reserves or liquidity to withstand the type of volatility that we've seen in markets. And of course, the customer withdrawals haven't helped at all. Is it all over for FTX?
Well, it's interesting because the crypto news is just as much of a roller coaster as the crypto prices, especially these last few days. And it's really troubling times in the industry. And is it all over for FTX? The fact that Binance recently announced that they're going to pull out, it definitely seems to be the case because it doesn't seem like anyone else is going to step in. There's just a lot of issues that are there. And when they do their due diligence, it seems more come to light.
This is having huge knock-on effects on the crypto industry as a whole. What is the appeal now for anyone to get involved in crypto, given how much money you can lose? There are thousands, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of retail investors who are sitting on significant losses here. And it's going to be very difficult, a very high hurdle for any investor to get back involved, knowing that they could lose potentially all of the capital invested.
Well, what I always say, crypto isn't about the prices. And it's amazing that there's so much enthusiasm and investment into this space because it does fuel the growth. But the underlying technology truly is revolutionary and there's continuing innovation. However, there are firms to turn to that are regulated. Look at the firms that are based in the US. Coinbase and Circle. Yes, they're being scrutinized, but they have always been held to a higher bar. FTX is an offshore, unregulated exchange. And so what's going to take place is more and more regulation, and ideally the SEC and the U.S. government will provide more regulatory clarity for those people that are operating within the U.S. as well as abroad.
Reeve, you've just spoken about some of those companies that are perhaps still ones to look at. And British financier Nathan Rothschild was, said to have once said that the time to buy is when there is blood in the streets. Do you think that moment is perhaps now then? Is that what we're saying, that in fact, this might still be the right time to get into cryptos and that this is perhaps their first sort of crisis or financial crisis era, if you want to call it that?
Well, the difference between the crashes in the past, where it was mainly just Bitcoin, where the price would go up and then go down and go up and go down, this is more systemic because of the advent of DeFi. So there's been a lot of advances in the technology, and now these industries, DeFi, like the next generation of banking, has been built, and a lot of the first versions of it are failing. But look at the bank and the financial crisis. A lot of investors lose tons of money in highly regulated banks. And what happens? The government bails them out. New laws are enacted. The banks get more secure and better, ideally. And so that's what's taking place within this industry. There's a lot of internal policing. And then very soon, especially in light of these recent events, there will be more regulation. And so is it a good time to buy? What I'd like to say is I always believe Bitcoin is a good time to buy. It's so funny to see how many people are knocking on the door to buy Bitcoin when it's at its all-time high, like at 60,000. Tons of people are there. Now to 16,000, and people are too scared to buy it. So sentiment is just, it's a very strange thing to follow.
Very interesting that today, exactly a year ago, is when Bitcoin did hit its highest mark as well, of around 68,952 or so. Does this mean that Changpeng Zhao is effectively the most important and most powerful man in the crypto space now?
It really does. And so I think we should all implore him to take that responsibility to heart, which I actually believe he does, and be an example, hold himself to a higher standard. He has a bigger balance sheet. He has more reach, more power, more influence than anyone else in the industry. And if he brings to bear proof of reserve, proof of solvency and really showcases that he is a good steward of customers' money, then it's really going to help the industry, because the recent events have really had a very crippling blow to the industry and knocked us back a few years. So hopefully some great developments will happen so it's not too crippling of a blow to the crypto space in general.
At the heart of this issue is that many of these crypto exchanges were operating without a proof of reserves. And I think that is the key distinction between some of the regulated ones that you mentioned versus the unregulated ones. Investors need to see a proof of reserves. And to that effect, since you were one of the co-founders of Tether, why are Tether being so obscure about the reserves that they hold?
So you have to look at the history of Tether. It started back in 2014. And when we started it, people didn't even really know what the word cryptocurrency meant. And there was no regulations at all. And so it grew, and then all of a sudden exploded. And so now it's very highly scrutinized by countries all around the world. And so internally, I believe they're doing everything possible to ensure they're the most stable and secure place for people to store their cash and take crypto tokens, Tether. And why they don't have a proof of reserve and they're more transparent about it, I believe it's because of the global regulatory landscape, and it makes it very, very challenging. I can't answer that question though, but I know that more and more companies coming out now in a more regulated environment will be held to a higher standard and will showcase what the reserves are. But Tether has published many reports of audits and has stated that they do have all of their reserves, and they just moved out of all of their commercial paper. So I believe it's the most solid token in the industry.
All right, well, let's see. Time will tell, obviously, but thank you very much for coming on the show. Reeve Collins, the co-founder of Smartmedia Technologies.